Well, I guess we should start out with what was arguably the biggest, most talked about story from this past weekend. Not the dingers, Elliot. We'll get to that.
My name's Big Al, and I hit dingers.
All right. Well, no, we're talking, of course, about the theft of and eventual crash of an Alaskan Airlines Bombardier Q400 turboprop plane from Seattle-Tacoma Airport. And this was stolen and driven by a 29-year-old ground services worker named Richard Russell. So to clear things up right from the start here, the plane was operated by Horizon Air, which is a regional subsidiary of Alaska Airlines. There was no one on board aside from Richard Russell. His job duties mainly included loading and unloading luggage, cleaning the plane, and helping to taxi it in and out of gates. He wasn't a pilot and apparently had no prior real-life flight experience.
Oh yeah, and in case you're wondering, he's dead.
He is dead.
So the whole story is very strange and sad from start to finish. So the idea that someone who just, worked on the ground crew at an airport as big as SeaTac, the idea that they could have access to an empty plane, just hop in, start it up, taxi it over to the runway, and successfully take off without clearance is mind-boggling and scary, especially in this era of heightened security and awareness that we have, specifically relating to airports and aircraft. Now, sure, he had access to the plane because of his job, but the steps between gaining sole access to the plane and doing stunts high above Seattle in a turboprop, there's a lot of steps there, and it's hard to make sense of the whole thing.
Yeah, so thanks to air traffic control recordings, we know a lot about what happened from the moment they realized that Richard Russell had taken the plane. The whole thing's still confusing, though. Now, he claimed to have learned the basics of how to operate a plane like this because he'd, quote, played some video games before, which we can only assume means an actual flight simulator game and not something like GTA, which is sort of what this whole thing eventually resembled. His knowledge had to have gone deeper than just the direction you need to push in order to get the plane to respond. Anyways, once he was airborne around 8 p.m. local time on Friday, he chatted in an eerily calm manner with the air traffic controllers, then left people on the ground, many of whom took videos of this whole flight, completely speechless by pulling what can only be described as actual successful stunts with this aircraft, while also being closely followed by 2 F-15 fighter jets.
In the recordings from the incident, Richard Russell, who they sometimes refer to as Rich, sounds eerily normal, composed, and not like someone with an absolute death wish. Now, there's even points throughout the conversation where he jokes with the air traffic controllers. Again, totally strange. Now here's just some of the audio.
Shoot. Man, I'm sorry about this. I hope this doesn't ruin your day.
Just flying the plane around, you seem comfortable with that?
Oh, hell yeah, it's a blast, man. I played video games before, so I know what I'm doing a little bit. Yeah, not quite ready to bring it down just yet, but holy smokes, I gotta stop looking at the fuel because it's going down quick. This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I mean, I would hope it is for a guy like me. Damn it, Andrew! People's lives are at stake here.
Now, Rich, don't say stuff like that.
Nah, I didn't told you. I don't want to hurt no one. I just want you to whisper sweet nothings into my ear. Hey, you think if I land this successfully, Alaska will give me a job as a pilot?
South Alaska 483.
141. Man, have you been to the Olympics? These guys are gorgeous. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I have been out there. It's always a nice drive.
On 119.
My beer.
Yeah, I bet you do. I haven't done much hiking over there, but if you could start a left turn and turn back towards the east. I know you're getting a good view there, but if you go too much further in that direction, I won't be able to hear you anymore.
Hey, pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip? You think? I'm gonna try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, I'll just go nose down and call it a night. I feel like I need to be, what do you think, like 5,000 feet at least to be able to pull this barrel roll off?
All right, Rich, this is Captain Bill. Congratulations, you did that. Now let's try to land that airplane safely and not hurt anybody on the ground.
So yeah, the audio is almost haunting considering how casual and jovial it all sounds, while the whole weight of the actual situation sets in. As we all know by now, Rich didn't make that successful landing. Instead, the plane went down on what's described as a sparsely populated island just southwest of Tacoma, and that obviously took Richard's life along with it. There is still a hell of a lot of unanswered questions here, though, and a lot of confusion about just what caused this guy to go into work one day and then take a plane on a joyride especially from like his family, friends, and his coworkers. They were all completely stunned by his actions, and they all seemed to indicate that he was a friendly, funny, easygoing person. At the very least, no one else was hurt as a result of his actions, and it sounds like he was pretty, that was on his mind as well up there. So, I mean, that's a small silver lining, I guess, but it definitely seems like an incident that's going to leave the local community, as well as those in charge of airport security, as well as the people that knew this guy, scratching their heads for a long time.
Yeah, so this is what's crazy about it, is not only was he able to take off successfully, but the maneuvers he was doing, which is, everyone calls it a barrel roll.
It's not a barrel roll, actually.
It's an aileron roll. Anyways, the dude was pulling maneuvers in this plane that are mind-boggling. Yeah, it's really sad, and people were like hitting us up on Twitter being like, is this a cool crime? And I was just like, no. I mean, if you're gonna go out, it was like kind of a crazy last kind of thing.
I mean, look, on the one hand, I think it's at least kind of cool that this guy got to do something no one else gets to do.
Sure.
As the last thing he ever did. On the other hand,
he put a lot of lives at risk.
Yeah, it was dangerous. I would have preferred he not do this. One thing that I found out that was very interesting is that when you're working in like the aviation industry, like in airports or anything like that, like if you can't use your company health insurance to see a psychiatrist, because that means you have mental illness, which disqualifies you from working in aviation.
Yeah, there was also some talk with other employees that he might have been upset that he'd worked with them for, I think, 3 years and was still not making $15 an hour.
Yeah, see,
so it might have been some financial burden on him as well.
Yeah.
So obviously the story is still developing a bit, and we'll find out more, but
and it kind of sounds like it's like one of those things when you're at a shitty part of your life that you daydream about doing, but he actually fucking did it.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on from that. That was one of the strange things that happened this weekend, and let's move from that to another story that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Ninja choosing to not stream with women. This story certainly took social media by storm this weekend, because when you're one of the most popular people in pop culture at any given time, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion. Unless you just don't say anything at all, which is the tip we usually give, but it's also impossible to do that sometimes, specifically when you're directly asked a question like this during an interview. So that's exactly what happened to Tyler Ninja Blevins over the weekend during an event held for Samsung, where he was asked about streaming titles like Fortnite with female gamers.
He said, "I don't play with female gamers." That's what he told the person conducting the interview for Polygon. Now, taken at face value, it would be easy for some people to ask, but why? But it's even easier for most people to simply say, all right, well, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's his stream, he can do whatever he wants, I guess.
I mean, okay, so the quote itself, even without explanation, it doesn't really come off as aggressive, but apparently it did set off people on both sides of this argument that apparently exists. Now, the explanation, by the way, is basically that he worries that maybe the immature and drama-hungry fan base who consume Twitch streams like his could easily misconstrue a normal conversation between him and another woman into meaning that they are flirting. Maybe he's being unfaithful to his wife. That could in turn turn into clickbait stories and drama shit and snowball into news coverage where people would, assume something nefarious had happened if they didn't do the work to actually follow the breadcrumbs trail back to a harmless conversation and gaming session between two people of the opposite sex. This is all fucking dumb.
Yeah, it speaks more loudly, I think, to the immaturity of people that watch streams like this, and it's not necessarily the kids that are watching this' fault. They're just young and they take things out of context.
Well, they've also been conditioned to feel like they're entitled to insight into their creators they've watched lives, because a lot of creators have made their whole career off of that. Like, it's like anytime we've had fucking women on our podcast, there's always like one or two comments like, oh, she was totally flirting. Like, no, this is just adults talking, you idiot.
And that's the other thing too, is then you have the other half of people who are like, well, this is ridiculous. How could he even say something like this? And it's like, well, I don't think you're understanding just how immature some viewers can be. You might be giving too much credit to a fan base that you're not exactly aware of. And that was proven also by the fact that there's a video attached to the article where Ninja actually kind of does this to Myth, who was streaming with another girl Fortnite player, Pokimane.
And it was very awkward.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I watched that and I was like, Ninja himself is completely socially fucking inept. Like, that's not a question a normal fucking adult, like, asks on a stream where you know thousands of people are watching.
Yeah. Anyways, the quotes continue. If I have one conversation with one female streamer where we're playing with one another, and even if there's a hint of flirting, that is going to be taken and going to be put on every single video and be clickbait forever. He later added that this decision was his idea and that his wife, Jay Ghosty, hadn't asked him to avoid female gamers, but he did so that there would never be a chance that she would have to react to fake news.
I get that. I mean, he's looking out. I get it.
See, the way I think of it is like, imagine her family and extended family who maybe goes onto YouTube and sees Ninja cheats on wife, and then they have to do the research to figure out if it's true. And imagine if they don't want to do that and they're just calling her actual family or her and being like, hey, so what's up with Ninja? Is this another Dr. Disrespect situation?
But yeah, you're right. But also, like, these creators, like, there's easy ways to avoid this, and it's just by being fucking, like, straightforward with your audience. It's like...
but you can't control what the audience is going to say, do, or promote based on what you say and do.
You kind of can, though.
Yeah.
These people are all fucking stans. Like, if you're just, like, straightforward with them, being like, hey, I'm married, but sometimes adults have friends of the opposite sex, and it's not fucking weird. And hey, maybe you can have female friends too someday if you're not just a fucking weirdo like you're being right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to people hearing a conversation that's friendly between a man and a woman and being like, man, wouldn't it be great if I could have a conversation like that? This is what love is like.
These are the same people. It's like the first fucking girl that like actually gives them the time of day. They're like, I think I'm in love.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Well,
you're just awkward.
Anyways, a bunch of weird stories from this weekend, but let's leave it on a positive note. Elliot, please tell me about this junior, or what is it, Little League World Series thing? Because I missed
I
this
didn't watch
completely.
the game. I just
saw the clip.
Just saw the clip of young Alfred D'Elia of somewhere on the East Coast with his raspy. He's got the voice of an elderly mobster, but he is no more than 12, I'd imagine. And you know, they all do the intro videos, but they're all awkward children going through puberty, so it's kind of hilarious. But young Alfred D'Elia, known as Big Al to the people back home, he doesn't give a fuck. He hits dingers.
Yeah.
And also, like, people found he has a YouTube channel, of course, because he's a child, and like it's all just videos of him, like it's like 5-second videos, and they're all just like 3-pointer, and it's just him like in his backyard, like boom boom. Whoosh.
He's the new dude perfect. Yeah.
Well,
Well, good.
I wish Alfred D'Elia the best of luck. I hope he continues to hit.
He's gonna be the new Babe
even
Ruth.
more dingers. He literally is like child Babe Ruth.
Yeah, he's just gonna step his blade and be like, ding, ding, dinger. And then he's gonna nail it.
Yeah.
And then he's probably gonna get into performance-enhancing drugs and lose everything that he ever had.
Yeah.
Or bet on himself, like Pete Rose.
Yeah. Alfred, you
Stay clean.
Stay clean, Alfred.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, like, so dingers is apparently a total, like, East Coast term for, like, hitting something.
When you first said it, I thought you were saying pingers, like that great YouTube clip from the
Pingers.
past.
I don't know what that means either.
No, we're very confused and old. It's proof positive by us not understanding 2 of the stories we talked about today, really.
Yeah.
And to leave you with more good news, finally, a brand new episode of Idiots Watching Anime. We watched a little show that we were very confused by called Food Wars.
And it's hentai.
People seem to argue that point with us, and even with the knowledge that we are literally idiots watching anime because it's in the title.
It's hentai. You can't convince me otherwise.
Anyways, our very, very awesome guest was Raina Scully. You guys are going to love this episode, so please.
I think it was my favorite episode yet.
Check out, it's the one that confused me the most, which is the most fun.
So that's the best place to be at.
So yeah, please watch that new episode. You can click on it right over here. Idiots Watching Anime Food Wars with Raina Scully. Be sure to follow her as well, and we'll see you guys soon.